RTD Live Talk, late night talk show. We are live. I wanted to check in tonight and see what's going on out in your world, and then touch on an interesting topic from Jerome Powell's presentation today on the fact that they're committed to QE until infinity. So, want to find out what's going on. As always, let me know where you're watching from. Would love to welcome you to the community. And I got a couple articles I want to touch on. But tonight, I want to find out what's on your mind tonight. What are you keeping an eye on? What's some news stories that might not be getting much attention in the media? And we'll touch on that tonight. And so, as always, just let me know and we can get this thing going. So tonight, I want to try something a little bit different, have a shorter live stream, but yet try to get to more phone calls and find out what's happening out in the streets. So that being the case, I'm going to actually open up the phone lines, put that out right now, and we can get into it. And so, see a couple people plugging in. Welcome to this live stream. Let me see. We got Spirit King. We got what's that? Feet of the X. If I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly. Good vibes. How you doing, my friend? From California. Aaron B says, "What's up, Mike from Ohio? How you doing?" Keston, Babar, Seattle. Hey, we got Luke from Buffering in Ohio. Okay. Evening, Linden. Okay, so I'm already dialing in back, Mike. No, just tonight. I figure because the goal is to try to formulate a actual ideal schedule I can stick to. So I'm going to try to dial back on the hour length of time, chop it up into 30 minutes, give or take, and give you guys a chance to just share what's on your mind, and we'll move through an article or two. But as of the last day or so, just been really diving into a lot of interesting subject matter in regards to how all this is being orchestrated and how we're being fed one big lie, as always. And so watching Jerome Powell give his press summary, and I'm thinking as I'm watching the press summary, it's all virtual. And so there's 20 or so reporters within that little Zoom virtual meeting. And of course, all the questions are scripted, but nobody seemed to ask the question. With all this accommodative policy, with all this QE, looks like 80 billion a month in mortgage-backed security, and another 30 billion, I think, and or 80 billion in treasuries, and 30 or 40 billion in mortgage-backed securities. No one there seemed to ask the question, sir, Jerome Powell, with all of this accommodative policy that you're providing for the economy, as you mentioned, to stay healthy, what about people who save? What about people who, actually still have a job, go to work, and like to set funds aside and hopefully put it somewhere where it can grow? And I'm thinking that's nobody seemed to ask that question because A, you can't do that, but B, everybody in the back of their mind is like, man, what about the currency I'm being paid in? And that's something want to think about. So actually, I pulled up something I thought was interesting. So I'm going to thumb through the article a little bit and then share with you what is currently the national savings, interest rate on savings. And I'm thinking we're already negative. Like the Federal Reserve doesn't have to really go outright negative for the federal funds rate, the rate in between banks, because right now when it comes to you and I parking funds in commercial banks, we're already negative. And I'm going to elaborate on that more. Natural Mama, how you doing? We got Dexter Dave. Okay, so Rethinking a Dollar says, what are your thoughts on food shortages and the grand solar minimum affecting the markets? ICE, Age Farmer, and Adapt 2030 keep speaking on it. How do you think will affect so when it comes to the grand solar minimum, apart from having watched a couple of videos, never dive into it. No doubt it's probably a real event that we should be aware of, but it's one of those things where it's one of many. And so the gentleman that you referred to, they more than likely study that in detail, and so they can actually probably historically give you more information than I could, of course. But yet you have that being a natural occurrence, as I think I heard every 11 years or some type of cycle or something like that. But then you have at the same time, I think there's going to be food shortages more so from a breakdown of the global supply chain and everything interconnected, because I'm still in believing that there will be a credit glitch or credit freeze pretty soon, because these 11 windows, soon to be 12, I think, of providing liquidity for the financial sector uh, will not be enough at the end of the day. So there's going to be some mistrust in the system, and something will give sooner or later. So their idea of trying to work this plan out will not come to fruition. Therefore, there's going to be shortages, probably just from it not being able to get into cities from a logistical standpoint. So, but yeah, you factor all those things in. I don't doubt they're real. It's just I don't cover myself. So, yeah. So that's even more that you can allow yourself to be concerned about or worried about if it's not already bugging you already. And so, do you like the great milestone yet? Did you like the great milestone yet? Great milestone yet? Let me see. Great milestone yet? Didn't touch on it. I don't think it didn't get a chance to get into that yet. Shalom. How you doing, my friend? What else? Okay, so what I want to talk about, and then I'm gonna open up for you guys to share what's on your mind. And so phone lines should be open. So feel free to give me a buzz, and we can love to hear your voice, hear what's going on in your world. And so, a part of tonight's discussion, I want to actually lead off with just some comments. And so every now and then, everybody who's been a part of the channel know that I tend to touch on the Federal Reserve as they give their Fed speech, which is basically a whole bunch of hot fluff to move the markets. And so here's an article here. It says, Fed sees interest rates staying near zero through 2022. So near zero. And so I did a video last week or earlier this week talking about negative rates. And so that was something that was suggested by one of their own employees. And so after hearing that statement of there not being a need, or they're not even thinking about moving rates for another 2 years at a minimum, that lets me know that that is their so-called floor that they're going to operate from for the foreseeable future until something occurs, which forces them to have to readjust that. And of course, I'm going to actually give you more here. And so it says the Federal Reserve kept interest rates near zero, indicated that that's where they'll stay at as the economy recovers from this current pandemic. It says, quote, here's Jerome Powell. It says, we're not even thinking about raising rates. We're not even thinking about raising rates. So they quoted him as saying, we're not even thinking about raising rates. He says, what we're thinking about is providing support for the economy. We think this is going to take some time. Okay, sure, whatever. So they're not even thinking about raising the federal funds rate. And mind, the federal funds rate is just the banking rate is just the exchange rate that banks lend amongst themselves. Nevertheless, and then from that, they gauge how much they're going to actually reward those that are contributing to their pot, in a sense. And so I'm like, okay, so now that they've admitted that they're not going to think about raising rates no time soon, what about those people who are saving more right now, more than ever, because of everything that's happening right now, the uncertainty in the markets, uncertainty about employment? More people are saving now than pretty much any time in the last couple of years, for sure. And so I saw a graph where, we were at, I want to say 4 or 5%. I forgot how they tallied up, but yet now we're close to like 10 or 12% of whatever that particular measurement is, and the amount of people saving. And so think about this. We're encouraged to save. That's what we've been taught to do from a responsible standpoint. But yet right now with this current policy, they're destroying the concept of saving because they're flooding the markets, and those who are holding the things that they're flooding the markets with are losing out big time. Let me see here. Janet Holmes, super sticker. I appreciate that contribution to the channel. Thank you. And so let me get into this. I'm gonna stop rambling. Then I want to open up to find out what else is going on in your neck of the woods. But here's something. And so what made me think about this earlier was, with the current environment we're in now, nothing is normal right now. And so outside of everything that's being everything we've been exposed to, think about just how we're supposed to adapt to this new norm of zero bound interest rates, quantitative easing until. So 2020 has started off as one of the most disastrous financially. Everybody's future plans have been altered, hands down. No matter how much you prepared or how much you set aside, they've been altered because everything's dependent upon the response of the Federal Reserve banking system, the financial markets, because a lot of people right now are dependent upon seeing some growth in those markets, even though everybody know they're artificial. But yet a lot of people are still they're betting the farm on the rates going up. And so here's something that I thought was worth sharing, because I'm thinking like, okay, with the current activity being done by the Federal Reserve to keep their own entities strong, it's destroying the concept of working for currency, especially when the government is giving out, accommodations, and they're talking about universal basic income, which the UK just mentioned they're going to start looking to do. And so here's an interesting. And so I typed in, okay, it's been a while since I actually checked into it, but here's something from the FDIC, and it's been redone as of this week. And so it's the national rate at which they reward savers for parking funds inside of a bank. And so for those that are saving less than 100,000, whether it be in a savings account, an interest checking account, a money market account, 1 month CD, all the way to 60 months of parking your funds inside of a institution that's insured by the FDIC. And so if you're familiar with the FDIC, that's just one of those things that came about after the Great Depression to reassure people that your funds will be safe. And so it says right now, just your ordinary savings on average, you're getting 0.06. 0.06. So not even 1% for parking your funds inside the bank. And so there's nothing here, even if you're above 100,000, there's nothing here above 0.5% at the very maximum for a 60-month CD. But yet the Federal Reserve said that they can't even reach their 2% inflation target, or CPI, which is the actual rate of inflation that they're shooting for. So 2% CPI, 2% inflation, which is their target, minus the 0.06 for saving accounts, that's pretty much negative right there. So you're already, so on average, we're negative, was that negative 1.4, if I'm not mistaken? So for those that are holding and saving funds in institutions, you're already losing 1.4, give or take. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Casey. I'm calling from Fort Worth, and I'll just a quick question.
Yes, sir. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind?
Yeah, it seems the stock market it's almost up to its all-time high, and do you think once it reaches back up to its all-time high, it'll go back to, it'll hit resistance and it'll back down, or do you think they're just going to try to keep it going as long as they can?
Great question. And so it's I think it's, for me, it's a twofold answer to that. We have the political warfare amongst the left and the right, and so I can imagine the left, which seems to be behind a lot of the distractions we're experiencing, from what I'm gathering. They wouldn't mind seeing it collapse or crash a little bit, so to disrupt that great economy narrative that Trump has. So that's one. And then on the other side of that, the Federal Reserve, based upon Jerome Powell's statement, he's committed to getting the economy back to normal, whatever it is. So I can see them wanting to ride this thing out as long as they can. And as long as that quantitative easing funds are going back to institutions, and people are loaning and lending and borrowing all types of things, that's going to go back into the markets to buy shares and everything that we're used to hearing about. So, unless there's some type of unforeseen event that causes a disruption, I think it might be political in nature before November, but I don't see no reason why it just won't take off to the moon, barring some type of unforeseen event. So it's something that, you can ride this wave on up, but you don't know when it's going to stop to be able to get off in time. So that's just my thoughts on it. What do you think?
The left is really they're really trying to sabotage everything, and I don't know what they have else in their bag of tricks, but who knows, and I would think that Trump, they first throw the coronavirus and they throw these riots at him. I would imagine he's had enough of this, and I want to see him arrest some people for doing this. But at the same time, I also watched the debt. It went up from like 22 trillion in March to 25 trillion, a little over 25 trillion today. So that quantitative easing is getting out of control. And I like I said, I imagine the left is going all in, because even I think with the 2016 elections, Wisconsin and Minnesota, they turned red for the first time since Reagan. Yeah. And I think they're safe to be red again. And what they did in Minnesota, how they just completely trashed it, and they showed no. I think even Minnesota has a chance of flipping red, because it's been starting to lean that way. It's still a blue state, but the tides are starting to change, and I think I definitely think they're going to keep on trying to crash the economy, do something, because they're going all in on this.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think right now in the political warfare I'm talking about is disrupting the current momentum that it appears that the president currently has now, and so they don't want him for a second term. So it's like anything is on the table as long as President Trump doesn't get a second term. So with that being said, the markets could tank, and so a lot of people I've interviewed say that expect a bigger and greater dip. So that could mean that there's going to be a reoccurrence of what happened in March again, but probably a little worse. So, but I appreciate your call, my friend. Thanks for checking in with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, be good. Yeah, great stuff there, man. And that's one of the things where that's why I'm more than convinced. That's why I've taken the time over the last several weeks now to interview people who are labeled as day traders, people who trade the markets. They're not committed to buying and holding. They are not in love with the markets. They just follow trends. They follow what is hot, what's not. They get in, they get out. And that's one of the things where, it's a lot of opportunity out there if you're one of the people who know how to use the markets and use graphs and charts to your advantage. You can get in and get out, because there's a lot of stuff right here is suspect. I'm real suspicious, and just like, man, just how dangerous is it right now when you have bankrupt companies filing bankruptcy, but yet people are actually buying shares, or somebody's buying shares, is pumping up their share price in the midst of getting ready to file for bankruptcy. And then on top of that, I want to touch on some more. But as always, give me a call. Let's talk. I want to hear what's on your mind. And I'll check in via chat. As always, highlight at Rethinking the Dollar, so to stand out. And I can get you on here. Let me see here. It says, Mike, I tell you what's on my mind. Gray State. That's what's on my mind. Anyone heard of it? They're taking it off YouTube as fast as people are putting it up. Gray State. No, I have not heard about that. Feel free to chime in on that in the chat. What is that all about? I'm not too familiar with that. Somebody says buy Hertz. Yeah, what is Gray State? Somebody let me know. Agent Bambi, Bitcoin. Typo I 11. So yeah, buy BitConnect. Yeah. I don't know if BitConnect even still like actually trading. I know it's just a belly up scam, but yet is it trading or what? But here's some things, and this is where I was heading at beforehand. Right now with the current environment we're in now, as I've said before, the dollar has been weaponized. It is being used. The Federal Reserve has been weaponized to use to prop the system up. And so there's an article out there that came out. I'm sure everybody saw it by now, because pretty much all the commentators were talking about it. I didn't even bother to really mention it, whatever. But it's talking about, there's a mainstream piece talking about the dollar and how we've lost or we've abused our exorbitant privileges of having the reserve status. And from that means that the world's forced to move on from the Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar. And because of that, I'm thinking like all gloves are off now. Like right now, heading into this decade now, having a strategy, having a game plan as to how you're going to navigate these waters in a world where, as I mentioned, based upon the lack of ability to earn off practicing safe, sound measures with parking funds and banks, is dangerous, because you earn nothing, but you take all the risk. It's like I've really, opened up my mind to a lot of things on how I can take advantage of what's going on and just take responsibility for my own personal finances. So reason I'm saying that, Bitcoin is one of those things where, whether you believe in it or not, it is what it is, but yet it's something that has been strategically placed here, and the big wigs in the financial sector will definitely look to take advantage of it. And so it's a way to position yourself to reap some of the rewards that was promised, that's being utilized by the financial system in and of itself, to not to lose everything. So of course, metals is the anchor of everything, but yet on top of that, there's a lot of interesting companies that are going digital in nature, issuing shares, i.e. tokens or coins, directly to the public. And I think that type of model is moving forward, and it's going to be very prevalent. And so for those that are interested in educating yourself, I think it could be something worth doing for yourself. Phone auto answer unavailable. Let me see here. So the phone line should be available. I apologize if it's not. I just got a call, so it should be good to go. Try to give me a call again, and hopefully it goes off, but everything looks good on my end. I heard China's dumping the terrorist dollar today. Johnny Depp, I haven't heard about them dumping a dollar today or tomorrow, but they're definitely de-dollarizing. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, it's Typo from Massachusetts. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Typo. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
I have to tell you, this is a great group. Love the chat. Love the discussion. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, heading out in a couple of days to go across country on a drive, and I want to know where Patriots, what towns Patriots want me to peg as a stopover to look at them.
Interesting. That's good. So you're going from what? You're going out to California, just driving to Midwest, or how far is your travels taking you?
We're going to go down from Massachusetts. We're going to head down toward North Carolina, South Carolina, swing over to the destination is Four Corners, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and we're going to be gone for about 6 weeks. We're going to head up to Seattle. Not that I want Seattle, but we're going to go over on the outskirts of Oregon, check it out, and Southern California, just to look and see how America's doing.
All right, well, that's a nice long trip. So I'm assuming, what's that, a month, or how long you've allocated time wise for that trip?
We have a max of 6 weeks, and so it's just going to be a drive by. Few days here, few days this. Check it out, and I really don't know what to anticipate. I am very aware of these movements and what's going on, but I have no idea what it's going to be like to go across these states. So it's maybe we'll give it up and go home. Who knows?
Well, it sounds like a hell of an adventure, and so definitely have fun, enjoy, take a lot of pictures, and check in with us from time to time. Definitely love to hear what you see out there. So in the chat, if anybody have any recommendations or whatnot, feel free to put it in the chat, and have fun and be safe out there.
Hey, thanks. I joined your Patreon group, and I'll update Patreon too. Great group. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for your support. Be safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, interesting trip. Interesting trip there. Sounds like a nice long drive. Natural Mom says, how do we get to stop focusing on red versus blue team and focus on what's going on monetarily? How do we get to stop focusing on red and blue team and focus on what's going on monetarily? I don't know. Not quite sure. You talk about within a group or just, the public in general, because as I mentioned a couple of days ago, I don't see any type of shift from current focus of what we're being fed from the mainstream media because of the emotions involved right now. Most people are just emotionally concerned with the whole racial distraction that's been given to us again and again, to where they're not concerned with the financial. So not until probably the Federal Reserve completely bankrupts everybody by just basically stealing the purchasing power continuously to where there's nothing to buy, i.e. extreme inflation, borderline hyperinflation, where people actually look this way to talk about currency. So yeah, good thing there. It says the Bible says about the black horse, a day's wage for a day's work, but hurt not the oil and the wine, the rich people food. Okay, some good stuff there from the scriptures. What verse is that? So back what I was saying, as always, give me a call. It'll be a couple more minutes and we're going to dial back, but I want to hear from you. So feel free to call in. The more the merrier. So I was hinting at what led me to really want to talk about this tonight was just the very concept of, working to provide for yourself in a time where there's no real concern with what we're using to store our energies, store our talents into, as well as save for the future. All that has been officially thrown down the tube with the recent activities over the last, approaching a year now, September to be the year of QE being started all in hopes of keeping this system going, and there's no way of saving it. So it really reassures me more of the need to begin really thinking outside the box and really finding more ways of doing things that can better prepare for this financial calamity that we're experiencing right now. Because the more I think about it, based upon all the emergency measures being thrown out there, is trying to prolong this thing is only going to make it only going to make it hurt that much worse. And the pain is inevitable, man. Like the pain only gets worse by the QE, by the month, by the week. And you factor in the federal government has a $399 billion deficit just in the month of May. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi. How you doing today?
Doing good, Corpus Christi. What's on your mind, my friend?
I just wanted to tell you, I keep watching, I don't watch television, but every time I watch YouTube or whatever, I always see these commercials saying, we're all in it together. We're all together.
Yeah.
What are we together? What the hell are we all together with? I don't understand. What are we all in it together? I don't understand that.
Yeah, good question. And so speaking of that, one thing I heard today that caught my attention several times a day on the radio, as well as maybe even in commercials or whatever, is that contact tracing. So that's still something that they're pushing. So here in Michigan, they're saying, for the benefit of your family and friends, if somebody from the health office or from the such and such call you, pick up. It's your responsibility to pick up so that you can know who you've been in contact with so that we can prevent the spread. I'm thinking like, it was several times throughout the day. So between being in this together and them telling me to pick up my phone to find out who I've been in contact with, like this is just, that's what they're preaching, man.
It's ridiculous, Mike. You know what? We're all gonna be in the poorhouse together. That's what they're getting us ready for. They could say, okay, everybody's money now is worthless, but we're all in it together, so don't worry.
Yeah, and it's so just I watched I saw an article by Peter Schiff talking about how Americans should start getting ready for an adjustment in the quality of our living standards in this country as a result of what's going on. And so I'm thinking like, I already kind of knew that, but it's like one of those things where we just this decade might actually see. And I always talked about second world, third world status, or the day that the dollar is officially rejected and something else is rolled out. And just that shift, that time period of shifting from the old to the new is going to be very painful because it's going to show when it comes time to go out and buy what you used to buy on the cheap these days.
Mm-hmm. The only thing good I see, people saying, when everything gets destroyed, the only good thing I see is that I believe that regulation is going to be lax. Because, I look at with my grandmother in Mexico. She built her house with their own hands. They built it, however, they didn't have to be square. The rooms didn't have to be of a certain size. The plumbing could be however it felt like. I think they're going to not have any tax dollars. And I think that now, you're going to be able to live like in the old days when you have your own house. That's the only positive thing I see. Like regulation, there's going to be no enforcement,
Yeah, and on top of that, if the currency is not worth much, I mean, what can you really get? Well, I mean, like when it comes to taxation, who's going to be in a position to actually pay something? And so that's one of those things where people really will decide to opt out of the system big time because everybody will be tapped out primarily. Then he's going to go towards those who hold metals and all types of assets that's benefited from the destruction of the currency. So make sure you figure out how you're going to pay those excessive capital gains taxes on all our silver, low blood pressure.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Hey, we'll go to Chile together, all right?
For real.
We'll be out of here.
All right, my man. Appreciate you.
Have a good night. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, be good. Oh, man. I got another call here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Jimmy from Baltimore. What's going on, Mike?
Doing good, my friend. Jimmy from Baltimore. What's on your mind, my friend?
So, I listen to your show a lot, and I agree with it. I agree with the timeline. However, I was listening to something else tonight, and it made me start wondering, right? Like, what if, just to be optimistic, what if this actually doesn't happen as soon as some of us think that it'll happen? What if it takes 5 years? What if it takes another 10 years? I think that when something that came to my mind is like, what if maybe I should really worry when both of my next door neighbors become millionaires? you know what I mean? When I start saying, because I personally feel like the same thing happened before, right? 2008, 2009, and they carried it 10 years. So yeah, we know that the bomb is going to go boom, but what if they make us bleed a little bit longer? What if they make us wane a little bit longer? You know what I mean? Like that's what they good at doing anyway. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
So basically like a slow death in a sense. Like, you know, the end is coming, but yet they draw this thing out, which I don't think that's impossible. I think that could be likely, because if the goal is to prop up the economy, they're doing it through the financial institutions. So basically they're bailing out everything and this walking. That's going to make the markets look good. It's going to keep that illusionary net worth effect in place. Housing market, people's houses will go up still more than likely. All those overinflated assets might go up, making people feel, you know, wealthier. So that's a part of what I'm sure what you're describing. But then again, because this is a global event, I'd imagine there's some things that they can't control. And at some point when something happened in the EU or who knows what, it always trickles back to the Federal Reserve system having to prop them up as well, to where something's going to give. So that's where the time frame, nobody really knows, but I think they want to draw this thing out so that they don't lose control like within a short time frame. So I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, let's milk the whole herd. You know what I mean? Like, let's get them, because you know a lot of people were affected by, you know, what just transpired. They were affected before it happened, but some of us are still holding on. So you know, it's just something I thought about. Like, let's draw some more blood from them. Yeah, I mean, Trump 4 more years. You know, stock Dow Jones 42, 45,000,
60, 70. Hell, why not? And so, I mean, that's the thing about that. Those type of numbers there mean that the companies and all of the 1%ers are that much richer, because your average Joe who get their automatic withdrawals from their employers into their accounts, like, I'm not sure. So a lot of people right now are not getting those 401k and 403b matches right now, because businesses are easing off of their, you know, meeting those matches on their employees. But yet, when it comes to the equities in the markets and whatnot, they're definitely the executives are getting paid big time. So even they want more. That's just the concept of greed. They want as much as they can. So as long as you got the reserve currency, why not milk it until, because once you lose that privilege, it's a wrap anyway. So it could be a long drawn out process of where the rich get richer and the poor get poor.
And preparing us for the one world currency that'll rule the world.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey man, appreciate your calling as always. Good to hear your voice, my friend.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, be good. Yeah, that's where it's heading, man. So when it comes to the upside down nature of this current financial market, I expect higher highs, but then when the lows come, the lows will come. And all that will be reflected and show up very wonderfully, nominally, in the price of undervalued assets. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. How you doing? This is Steven from Milwaukee. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Steven. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I'm just going to drop a couple of things. First of all, I want to talk about the census. The census is clearly significant during this time. They want to number the people, people know where the people are. I think it has a lot to do with contact tracing. It has a lot to do with just knowing where people are.
Yeah.
The next thing is, I heard Dr. Fauci say that. He says that they believe that they have made significant strides with regards to a vaccine. They believe that they can have a vaccine ready by the end of the year, and if not by the end of the year, by the early part of 2021. Then he follows that up with, well, there's a lot of things that we don't know about the virus and how it affects the body and so on and so forth. It just contradicts the idea or notion that you could produce a vaccine, which normally vaccines take years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's trials and so on and so forth. But you feel confident about a vaccine, yet you don't understand how this invisible enemy even affects the body. So how could you even have a vaccine ready to go?
Right.
Okay. Now, that's that one little piece. I want to talk about real quick. I want to talk about these protests. These are two things I see coming out of this protest. One is an excuse for a global second wave, okay? Because there was no social distancing. People have been in close proximity and so on and so forth, which to me is going to lead to a form of, well, I think the second wave is going to be really strict. It's going to be real strict, okay? It's all about what they feel we are willing to tolerate. And I also believe that it's going to lead to a form of martial law, which leads to restriction in gun control, gun laws. The second piece of this big thing, this big push to defund the police departments, is I see coming. Possibly in the future, we could possibly see the UN stepping in once our finances collapse, stepping in saying, I'm sorry, U.S., you've lost control. Because remember, once the U.S. goes, everybody, I don't even think the rest of the world can wait for 4 or 5 years. I think this thing is going to be moving. We're like the frog in the boiling pot.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you, my brother.
My man, appreciate you calling in. You shared a lot of interesting thoughts there. I appreciate you.
Just something that you want.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Interesting. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Thought I had somebody there. Yeah, a lot of good thoughts there. Man, so what was that? You said something that really got me thinking about so the encouragement of going out protesting and police, especially here in Detroit, police, decide not to, the governor or the mayor rather imposed a curfew, but then the police didn't enforce it, meaning that they tolerated people out in the streets for longer. So that right there is a great foundation for them to use to say, hey, numbers are picking up, And then, as you mentioned, allowing that to occur so that they can be more strict on that second, stay at home order lockdown. And then what they'll do, especially all the states that gave, all the Democratic states that gave, Trump a hard time and not want to reopen, such as i.e. Michigan, they're going to say, it's all your fault, Trump. You did not listen to Dr. Fauci. You did not, follow this World Health Organization recommendation. You opened up too early, so it's your fault. And then they're going to run our ads saying President Trump opened the economy too fast. He's the reason why that, they're going to throw out a fake number of possible deaths and stuff like that. So once again, trying to disrupt any type of momentum from his side in his presidential campaign, as well as further enslave humanity. Because, and with the defunding the police, that's a very good thing there, because if they step down or they don't feel like they're being supported or even needed by politicians because they're losing funds or whatnot, who the heck, they're not going to stand up to protect the damn cities. Therefore, National Guard, military, you name it, will be on the streets. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's Pete in Colorado.
Pete, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, any better than I couldn't stand it. Crazy times we live in.
Interesting times. Yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I just, one thing to throw out there for you is I know you're a spiritual guy.
Try to be.
And we all try to be.
Yeah.
But in these days and all these questions and how 2 + 2 = fish and nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
I feel that too many of us we're distracted, we're blinded, and we don't make decisions based on values and principles.
Okay.
And if you lose your values and principles, then all of this becomes very confusing to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So imagine all the people that's been put in a very uncomfortable position right now due to a event that's caught us all by surprise as far as its health concern, and they're thrust out there. So I remember we talked about, the concept of how you earn a living, whether it be through employment, through entrepreneurship, or, just having your money work for you. So imagine all those people, 40 million plus, that don't have any particular stream of income coming in, how they could fall victim to compromising themselves because of the lack of funds.
There's no lack of funds right now.
Or
8 million people don't have to pay their mortgage. Nobody has to pay their student loan payments.
Yeah.
Everyone who lost their job gets $600 extra. Everybody got sent a check.
Yeah. For now, but it stands to run a little dry by the end of next month, unless something is done, which Do you think the House and Senate will come together on another package?
Do you believe that they are principled people?
Oh, not at all.
Are
Not
you
at
aware
all.
that it's an election year?
Say it again.
Are you aware that it's an election year?
Yeah, exactly. So that basically says it is coming. Yeah.
And let me throw one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, Chairman Powell literally went on 60 Minutes and said, "Go big."
Yeah. And
No, but I mean, to go back to my first point, though.
Yeah.
You know, principles, values. If you see the world through your side's political narrative, then you are blind, and you've abandoned your principles and values.
Yeah, that's real. That's real talk there, man. That's very true. Yes.
So I just follow my principles and values. You know, I didn't go invest in Hertz and open, you know, a Robinhood account.
Yeah.
I mean, God sakes, this is insanity.
Yeah, man. That's where we at, Pete, and it's only going to get worse, but more interesting and along the way, man.
But don't you think that we need this?
I think, like always, walking into it's not comfortable, but it's what's needed to shake things up, to hopefully keep a couple people thinking for themselves, so that we can transition into what's next. Because a lot of people need to be shooken up a little bit. Yes.
Well, I agree with that, and you know, unfortunately, right now, I feel like outsider. You can't be cold and rational and logical. People are so emotional. They're so blinded by their political team. We're not going in the right direction because, as a society, we have no core values and principles that unite us anymore. And to relearn the truth, we have to endure some real hardship and real losses for a prolonged period of time so that all this nonsense can be washed away.
Yeah.
But in the short term, yeah, Dow 100,000, absolutely. We can print to the moon and back. You know, doesn't mean it'll buy anything.
Right. Very true. Especially the shelves are empty.
Doesn't mean it'll buy anything, you know.
Right.
We have to produce goods and services. And in this environment, why would anyone be motivated to go work? There's just free money everywhere.
Yeah. Woo-wee. Yeah, man. Good points as always, Pete. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, Mike. You have great conversations. It's always fun.
All right, my friend. Be good. Thanks.
You as well. Goodbye.
Yeah, man. Always good to hear from Pete from Colorado. So with that being the case, man, I want to connect tonight to find out what was on your mind. Thinking about doing this format more often, and so I was intending on going half an hour, but yet as always, we get to talking, we get to having fun. That's all she wrote. So I won't be taking any more calls. I'm gonna dial back. So what I'm gonna try to do is to have a 2-a-day session. So tomorrow I'm gonna try to log in and do a live stream sometime late afternoon after the mainstream news comes out. We'll talk about that, and then in the evenings I'll do a what's on your mind, and you guys can call in and share what's on your mind in the evening. So, shake it up a little bit, do something different, and get engaged with the people, with the audience a little bit more. So, with that being the case, people, that is all she wrote. It's been great as always connecting. And for those that are new to the channel, I want to make sure I give you guys a chance to go stay up to date on what's going on. So if anybody's interested, you can go to rethinkingdollar.com. I tend to post all my articles there. Got a lot of resources for you guys and videos and all types of things. And then if you guys want to be a blessing to the channel, feel free to become a Patreon. All that information is down below. Does a lot to support alternative media. But other than that, everybody be blessed, be safe. If you enjoyed the back and forth, give it a thumbs up and then share it with your family and friends. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.